I've been watching them for a while. I remember being up.
This is my fourth time going building authority.
When kayak.
For years.
I was like, I'm
30 years
know
ago
what I'm
being a
doing.
fan. And my son was there at the campsite, we're watching the kayak.
2019.
Sure. What a bunch of boobs.
So like 6.
They couldn't do anything.
Yeah, in
And then they
September.
started to go cook their dinner.
Congratulations.
This little
Thank you.
1 burner stove. They got a flame about 5 feet high on it, and it's like, okay, kayakers. Well, you can't. No. Maybe not. Depending on weather. Going up the bridge or you're down.
All right. How you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing?
You know,
What's up, bro?
How you doing? Okay.
and it's like, no. Personally, you know, if you come to the ranger station and go to the island to get on, if you can't show them, you can use a map and compass, you're not going. Right? We're trying to help you here. Yeah, people don't use map and compass. They call it GPS. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Thank you. Jim Jurgens on the. Yeah.
Oh, Marcy.
Okay, we're gonna start the committee on audits. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Colleen. Commissioner Garza has requested an excuse. Commissioner Kenizik. Chair Dobb,
Here.
you have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item.
B, Chairwoman's remarks.
I have, excuse me, I have none. Next item.
C, approval of the May 7, 2025 meeting minutes.
It's been moved by Commissioner Kenizik, supported by Commissioner Colleen. No, if there's no discussion on the meeting minutes, please vote on your tablets.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Okay, next item.
Moving to item 2, under new business, forwarding the Office of Legislative Auditor General's financial assessment, limited review report for the Wayne County Building Authority's audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2024.
Okay, turn it over to Marcy.
Marcy Carl, Auditor General, and I'll have staff introduce themselves.
Bandy OT's Deputy Auditor General.
Erica Jones, Principal Senior Auditor.
And we also have guests here for the Building Authority. I believe Jim Jurgens online and Daryl Jones is here and Yogesh Gasani is here. They could join us at the table and then introduce themselves.
Morning, everybody. Jim Jernigan, Assistant Corporation Counsel.
Good morning, everyone. Daryl Jones, Director of Facilities, also Buildings Administrating Authority.
Good morning. Yogesh Kisani, Deputy Chief Financial Officer, Management Budget.
Welcome.
This is the beginning of our standalone financial statements. Each year when the standalones are issued, our office does a financial assessment limited review. This takes the information that's included in the financial statements that were audited by outside auditors and kind of puts it into some summary information for the commission and the general public. The first one we have today is the financial assessment limited review for the Wayne County Building Authority's audited financial statements for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2024. And I'm going to turn it over to Erica Jones, and she'll go through a brief presentation of the financial statements.
Yes, on page 2, we discussed the background of the Building Authority. The Building Authority is a blended component unit of the Charter County of Wayne County, Michigan. Page 2, we also discuss the external auditors report. Platt Moran, the independent external auditor, stated that the financial statements presented fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Wayne County Building Authority as of September 30th, 2024. The auditors noted under required supplemental information that management omitted management's discussion and analysis and the budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund that generally accepted accounting principles require be presented to supplement the financial statements. On page 3, we discussed the financial results. We noted that there was a increase in revenues of roughly $180,000. This change is primarily due to an increase in revenues that were generated from building rents and interest income during fiscal year 24. We also noted there was a decrease in the fund balance of roughly $300,000 or so. This decline was primarily due to increased expenditures in community and economic development and higher interest and fiscal charges on debt services during fiscal year 24. We also saw that the building authority's net position increased by roughly $12,000 in fiscal year 2024. This favorable variance resulted from a decrease in non-current liabilities and accrued interest payable. For fiscal years 23 and 24, the total amount of non-current liabilities due in more than 1 year was recorded at roughly $11.8 million and $11.3 million respectively.
Okay, can we pause right there? I wanted to ask about the decline in the fund balance, the $304,000. Can management give us a little bit more detail on the types of expenditures that led to that decline?
Well, good morning, Commissioner Dobbs. It's been a while since I've seen you, and I'm just glad to be back and to see everyone. A lot of that decline, as far as it's based on the budget that is the summary that we get and budget that we get from them as far as the Boji Group. Remember that we don't get an annual budget from them. We get a summary or report, and it's based on repairs and it's based on initial funds that's been allocated towards the repairs. What we do is sign off on any improvement that's been done. And since this is through a third party, that we actually don't have any funding that we commit through the county as far as process of that. So that is the process, and that is the decrease, is that a lot of repairs have been done over the last 3-4 years. Carpet, building structure has been repaired, and it's been based off what they submitted to us as far as reports.
Oh, Marcy.
And maybe if you could explain a little bit how the building authority is used, because these are for 2 health centers that we lease, or if you could explain that process.
Yeah, prior to me coming here, it was about 6 years ago, but initially it was due under the bond structure. And the bond structures were for both the Hamtramck and I think it's Flint process properties. Initially, we owned those properties at one time, and then we turned around we leased them, and then we turned around and purchased those. Then we turned around and leased them to the state, and through a third party, which is the Boji Group, actually operates and manages those process. No funding comes out of the county budget. It's all predicated from necessarily the people that necessarily are in the building and that operate the building. So those fundings are paid through Third Street Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, and that bank necessarily processes that. We really have no autonomy in order to operate that. There is a cost that the Boji Group sends as far as operating and managing the properties.
Okay, commissioners, any
Can I-
questions?
Sure.
Can I add some more comments, clarity? Thank you, Daryl.
Mhm.
So as you know, in 2011, those are 2 bonds were issued. One was Inkster and one was Hamtramck, those 2 buildings, I think around 12 million. Right now, the balance is around 11 million. Those are the only 2 bonds liabilities in a Wayne County Building Authority now. Back then, and I'll explain why this separate statement is there. But so basically, all state sends money to the U.S. bank, and U.S. bank pays all this. As Daryl just mentioned, there's no funding from Wayne County. It's just passed through third party, come to the U.S. bank pays to bond and whoever the party is. So we are just recording, mimicking the transactions from the US bank at this point, revenue and expenditure. And then there's some charges coming again from a BOG group, every other periodic that we just recorded. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry, Erica, go ahead.
Okay. We also noted that as of September 30th, 2024, the building authority's total government fund balance was 8.8 million, which was a decrease of roughly 300,000 from the prior year. A significant portion of the fund balance is restricted to indicate that it is not available for new spending because it has already been committed to paying debt services of 5.6 million, program activities of 1.2 million. We also saw that an additional 776,000 is also assigned for capital projects. On page 3, we discussed the budgetary information, and we saw that annual budget should be adopted on a basis consistent with generally accepted accounting principles and that state law for the general fund and all special revenue funds. State law also requires that the building authority is to have its budget in place by October 1st of each year. However, the auditors noted that the building authority did not prepare a budget for fiscal years ending 2024 and 2023. This was discussed within note 3 of the note section.
So can we stop there and address this? Because this is something that comes up every year. Why don't we have a budget?
Again, I think what we're talking about the general fund here, but I believe so. They do a debt service budget, and that's approved by a building authority. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
That is correct.
Right. So what they're talking about here, because it's a special revenue fund required by state, and since we don't have much more activity in the building authority at this point, as we indicated, everything comes from the state funding, and we just pay off those things. So I guess we can work it out. We can do it. Looking at what's the flow from the state is coming, revenue and expenditure could be the same, and we can certainly take care of that. But just to let you know, this year, as you know, we were like almost 2 months late. And we were just trying to rush up all the financial statement. And I'm glad that we were able to submit to the state by 29th of May. So certain these kind of things might have missed. So.
And just to piggyback, and then I'll be quiet from that point. We do get summary reports, as I indicated previously, and those summary reports, which I did obtain a new summary report that I'll actually share with everyone from that process that shows the cost of things that are processing through that. We have in the past, and I know Commission has been on me to get an annual budget report. I'm not sure that would be a legal end. How do we get that report? But the Boji Group on several occasions has explained to me that they do not give an annual report, but they would give me quarterly reports.
Marcy, do you have any?
And if we could use the information provided from the Boji Group for the inflows in and inflows out and create a budget for, should suffice.
Yeah, I think if we could take those quarterly reports and use those. When was the last time the building authority, the board met?
Do you know?
If it's memory serves me, I believe November of 2024. Primarily is the Buildings Authority, most of it was based and predicated, obviously was established for bonds and bonds debts that we had. There's no longer any bonds for 2011, if I may be correct. And any bonds that was necessarily allocated to the new CJC, those are all been paid off. So there's really nothing unless we get something internally that we get a budget or quarterly budget that we'll discuss, and then we'll talk about that. And that meeting is done. So it's been, I believe, I've been out since March. So I'm trying to think. I think it was November of last year, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to confirm that.
Okay.
May I just add some comments? He's right. So building authority was very active, as you know, when we had a 2010 bonds, old jail, I call it. And then when we refunded that bonds through our new Wayne County. So I think there's not much activity left, except this Inkster and Hamtramck bonds are still there. Those are two active bonds, which is listed in our financial statement. And again, bond payment and everything, interest and everything comes from the state. State pays everything. So in a sense, there's not much activity left. But we do try to make sure that at least once or twice building authority meet to approve the budget. And we can give you the date when they last meet. Every month we get an email, from, hey, there's a meeting in building authority, everybody has an agenda. And most of the board members says, hey, we have none. So then it ended up canceling.
So if we could get the building authority board to meet prior to the fiscal year, so at least they could establish the general operating budget. We know it's the same coming in from state and going out, but if they could at least approve that, it would satisfy the recommendation.
Normally we do, and we'll make sure that works out.
Yep, we'll make sure of that. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Khalil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is hard to follow. So the stadium authority, not the stadium, the building authority. Two bonds, one for Inkster, one for Hamtramck. On buildings we don't own. Correct?
No, I think we own the buildings.
Well, see what I'm trying to, we need to do, because I'm trying to understand Bogie Group's involvement in this. And then you're talking about state money. Where the heck does that come from? Right? How is that all working? And to me, if the only business is those two bonds, they're going to be paid off at a certain point. Is there a chart, the longest book in the world is when you get your mortgage and the monthly payments you have to rip out of there for 47 years. Is there when are the bonds going to be paid off?
So Commissioner Klein, I can definitely produce a amortization schedule, and it's already listed in there, but I can certainly give you an amortization schedule. And again, as I said, we are not paying, state is paying.
Yeah, and see that part of it too,
right.
I'm not getting at all. So why do these people even exist? Right?
I mean, that's a management company. I think we lease to the state, and I will let our legal probably explain all understanding of the legal agreement.
And I hope legal can put something together, because now these buildings are leased to the state.
Yes.
And the state has a separate deal with the Bogie Group.
And the Department of Health and Human Services as well.
Mr. Jernigan.
Huh?
I was going to ask legal, Mr. Jernigan.
So
Can you explain?
I will do my best. Here's
Okay,
my
thank you.
understanding of the historical background of how this came into play. And this is well before my time back here at the county, but this is my understanding, is that the state approached the county because the state needed the county to finance these two facilities. The county agreed to do that vis-a-vis the building authority, issued these two bonds to finance these two facilities. Technically the state leases from us, and Bogie Group acts as they were the developer. They literally built the buildings and they manage the buildings at this point. But as Mr. Gasani had indicated earlier, the authority is nothing but a pass through. So the expenses that are incurred are paid entirely by the state. But that's my understanding of historically why this was done this way.
Yeah, and Counselor, and I don't know who would do it, because there's moving parts here. Can we put this together in the form of a historical narrative, right? With why we wanted to do these two buildings and then issuing the bonds for them. And then whatever the state involvement is with their money and why we leased it to the state. When did we do that? When did the Bochi group come into the picture? I guess day one since they built them.
Correct.
And, but to, here's an old phrase for you, follow the money. And I have a hard time following the money here of who's paying for what and what are they doing? Because to me, the building authority counselor that there's maybe some other legal entanglements here, responsibilities that the building authority may have.
Well, Boji, to your point, Boji Group is essentially responsible for everything. The
Except paying off the bonds.
Well, no, correct. I mean, the state does that
Yeah.
because they pay the county to lease these premises. So you're right. But the county's involvement is, as Mr. Gasani referenced before, simply as a pass through so that this transaction could be consummated.
But I want to know legally, why don't we just sell the damn thing to the state? Let them handle everything. Everything's going on up there anyway. Here, take the debt. You're paying the debt anyway. And then the county, we're paying a lot of county people to be here today as a part of this. So why not just say, okay, state, here you go. Here's the debt. They're all yours. No more leasing. That's more accounting that we have to do. But I would like, Madam Chair, some sort of narrative here, the history and how all these moving parts work together. How the state allocates the money to pay the bond. I don't know. It's just a little bit of a mystery here of what's going on.
Sure. I mean, we can, as to the question about selling to the state, I don't have an answer to that, but we can put together.
No, I just threw that out. That's
No, I get it.
But to me, it makes sense, right? If all we're doing is some sort of a pass-through entity, why do we need to be here?
Right. But yeah,
what's the legal basis for that? Does there have to be a building authority, or can we offload it on the state and we don't have the authority anymore?
Right. Yeah, we can put together a hopefully a one pager so that it lays out the kind of a flow for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. The building authority also did not establish policies to address the custodial credit risk of their deposits and investments. Therefore, in the event of failure, the building authority will be unable to retrieve its deposits and investments from the bank and or counterparty. This was discussed within Note 4 of the notes section. Based on our limited review, nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe that the Wayne County Building Authority's audited financial statements are not presented in conformity with the generally accepted accounting principles. It is our recommendation that the OAG's Financial Assessment Limited Review Report on the Wayne County Building Authority's financial statements for fiscal year 2024 be forwarded to the Wayne County Commission for receiving and filing. That concludes our presentation.
All right, Marcy.
And can I also add, one of the items identified earlier in the report was the required supplemental information omitted the management and discussion analysis piece. Yogesh and I had a discussion last night, and they're going to work on coming up with the management and discussion analysis piece and include it for next year. It could be short, but at least it'll be included.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Just, can I answer Commissioner Colleen's question? Yes, these bonds are being matured 30 years, 2042, both. Okay.
Yeah, that was in the report, but I was just making the point that we should be out of business here at some point.
You said 2042?
Too, yeah. They have it in the report.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner questions on this item? Okay. All right, can I get a motion to receive and file this report? Oh, I'm sorry. It's weird. It's been moved by Commissioner Wilson, supported by Commissioner Colleen. Excuse me again. Please vote on your tablets.
Let's receive violence.
Motion carried.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Madam Clerk, let's move back to item 1.
Item 1, forwarding the Office of Legislative Auditor General's financial assessment, limited review report for the Wayne County Sewage Disposal Systems audited financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2024.
Marcy?
This is our financial assessment limited review for the Wayne County Sewage System Disposal Systems Audit Financial Statements for September 30, 2024. And we do have representatives from the Sewage Disposal System Environmental Division. If she could introduce herself.
Hi, good morning. Jessica Kenyon from M&B DPS Finance.
And Max is going to do this presentation. I'll have him introduce himself and then begin the presentation.
Maxwell Andrews, Legislative Auditor 3. Okay, I'll begin with the background, which is located on page 2, the OAG's report. The Wayne County Sewage Disposal System includes the Rouge Valley Sewage Disposal System and Combined Sewer Overflow Basin, collectively referred to as the systems. The systems are presented as enterprise funds in the county's annual comprehensive financial report. I'll proceed to the external auditor's report, which is located on page 2 of the OAG's report. Plant Moran, the independent external auditor, issued an unmodified opinion on the sewage disposal system financial statements for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2024. The opinion stated that the information for the sewage disposal system as of September 30, 2024 is fairly stated in all material respect in relation to the county's basic financial statement as a whole. The sewage disposal management as amended management discussion analysis that accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America requires to be present to supplement the basic financial statements. The auditor's opinion on the basic financial statements is not affected by the missing information. The OG assessment, which could be located on page 3 of the OAG's report, we concluded that generally the audited financial statements and other supplementary information appear complete and thorough. Our review of the report content noted the following. Total assets of September 30, 2024 were $128.1 million, which was primarily due to an increase in the pool of cash investments of $5.7 million, an increase in receivables of $5.4 million. The total liabilities increased $8.9 million due to an increase in other liabilities, offset by a decrease in accounts and contracts payable. The net position increased by approximately $2.1 million due to collections from local units and federal grant revenue, with operating expenses exceeding operating revenues by $0.5 million. Cash and investments can be found on page 3 of the OAG's report. For the year ended September 30, 2023, the system's pooled cash investments deposited in the county's treasurer's internal cash management pool were $15.6 million. This amount increased by $5.7 million to $21.3 million for the year ended September 30, 2024. Restricted assets, page 3, OAG report. The system restricted assets composed of receivables from local units of $1.8 million as of September 30, 2024 and 2023, respectively. Based on our limited review, nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe the financial report, including the audited financial statements of sewage disposal system, are not presented in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. It is our recommendation that the OAG's financial assessment limited review report of the sewage disposal financial statements for fiscal year ended September 30, 2024 be forwarded to the Wayne County Commission for receiving and filing. This concludes our presentation.
Okay. Marcy, do you have any?
This, as we discussed, Yogesh and I again last night had this discussion, this MD&A also for the sewage disposal, and he said they were going to work to make sure we have that next year included in the financial statements. And just an overall question, the receivables increased significantly. Just what contributed to the increase in the receivables?
I would have to go back and investigate further. It could be just a timing when we invoiced the monthly service costs or the debt.
Then also, what is included in the other receivables, like $659,000? And maybe something you need.
I believe that's deferred revenue for the Watua. Two communities left the system and they pay their debt in advance and we hold it in the receivable account. I believe that's what it is. I'd have to confirm.
That's all I.
Okay. Commissioners, Commissioner Colleen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Page 3 of the auditor's report under restricted assets. You talk about the receivables from local units. So local communities that use the system have an annual, they pay for that to the county? And the report says 1.8 million as of September 30, 2024 and 2023. Does that mean that that was $1.8 million at the end of each year?
Yes, it's just a coincidence that it was the same.
Just coincidence. Is there any difficulty collecting from the local communities?
Not for the debt portion. There are some communities that are behind on their regular O&M,
The regular who?
the regular operations and maintenance invoices.
Ooh, the old O&M, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Must not have gotten enough sleep last night. To the Auditor General, what is the benefit to you when you do these of having the management discussion and analysis, the old MD&A submitted to you? What or submitted? What's the value to the county Auditor General of having that statement?
Other than being required, it provides valuable information to the readers of the financial statement, give them some more information on the background and things of that nature
To the public?
to the public.
Yeah. And county commissioners. Yeah.
All readers of the financial statement.
Yeah. So having been on audit for a couple of decades now, I love my MD&As. You pick up a lot of stuff in there, the whole background and of the organization or the department, whoever you're auditing. So what's the problem? Who do we have to get that from the auditor, the external auditor?
No,
No, I think that's management responsibility. As I said, MD&A, management responsibility. Yes. This year particularly.
Because this isn't the only one
Right.
with no MD&A.
I can go back to a building authority. Basically, building authority is in a blended component unit. It's not required to have their standalone statement. We started that because of 2010, visible bonds back then.
Huh.
We can come back and there's not much activity in building authority, but definitely sewer statement. I think that's a required, and I can promise you next year. This year, again, we were trying to rush up everything to get we were very behind.
I understand
But I can
that,
promise
but
you.
I would wager a sum of money that with the sewage disposal system, we've never gotten an MD&A from there. I mean, I know I know the issues you're having, getting statements out. I'm looking at the county charter for when a budget is to be delivered to the Wayne County Commission. So I know the issues that we're having, but I don't think we've ever gotten an MD&A here. That's not just because of our current situation with the bookkeeping system and redoing everything. I think it's a valuable document and love to see it.
As
Thank
part-
you, Madam Chair.
As part of our discussion last night, Yogesh and myself, we talked about that it's possible maybe an MD&A could be put together early on and then just updated as a financial statements, get closer with whatever has to be updated.
Yeah, that is correct. And again, I can't speak for my predecessors why it wasn't being done, but we'll make sure. Again, I would consider MDN is very useful at this level, this body, because it gives you summarized statement, what the changes from last year to current year. So definitely, yeah, it does add a lot of values. And we'll make sure I'll work with the sewer systems management to make sure that that's will be done next year.
Appreciate it.
you.
All right,
Madam.
thank you. If there's no further discussion on this item, could I get a motion for receive and file? It's been moved by Commissioner Wilson. There's support.
Second.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. I can, my little.
Supported by Commissioner Colleen. If there's no further discussion, please vote.
Motion carried.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
If I could just say, I just want to thank Yogesh and Ms. Kenny and Mr. Jones for joining us today and providing the information back to us timely. We received these statements and we want to do a quick turnaround so we can get them to this audit committee, and they were both very helpful in making sure we could do the turnaround. And I also just wanted to add, the chair and I spoke, and we plan on having Plant Moran come on July 9th to do the presentation for the results of the annual comprehensive financial report.
Yes, so
Thank you.
plan on being here that day. Right, thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I don't have any other than July 9th. Save the date. Okay, next item.
G, public comments.
Is there anyone here who wishes to make a public comment to the Committee on Audit? Whether you're in person, on Zoom, or on the phone? Emails.
No emails have been received.
Okay, if you're on Zoom, you can unmute yourself, or on the phone, just speak. Second call for public comments. Third and final call. Hearing none. Next item,
Adjournment.
motion to adjourn. It's been moved and supported. All those in